Välkommen alle sammen! Meditation in the Viking Age. In this video we're going over any parallels of that in the Norse sources. I've been off YouTube for a little while, a little inactive, but coming back with a very special announcement, what I've been working on. Guys, I can show you the sources and what we know about the Old Norse and Germanic religion, the beliefs of the Viking Age. I can teach you all those things on the academic side. That's all super important. But eventually, in order to have a much better understanding and to really determine what you believe in or not, you need to experience some of these things personally yourselves. I can't bring you all to traditional ceremonies or bluts or rituals yet. I'm working on that, but it'll be a couple years before I'm able to do something like that. But for now, the best thing that I can do to help people on their spiritual journey is guided meditations, and this is exactly what I have just launched now on my music channel. I am going to be releasing guided meditations that I've created myself. The first one is up right now. That's a shamanic drumming type thing with some binaural beats and chanting of Völuspor. And a new one is going to be released there every couple of weeks, and it's going to be a whole bunch of audio and visual things. It's going to be also like chants in Old Norse, replicating ancient inscriptions that we can see that may have been like chants or mantras. It's going to be ancient instruments, rattles, or maybe other sounds that you could have heard in nature at the time, shamanic drumming at the exact right tempo that has been proven to lead to trance states, and even different frequencies that have been scientifically shown to benefit certain ways in meditation, and even binaural beats, which you've all heard of. I'm incorporating all of that into these videos, these guided meditation videos, so check it out. I've spent years researching both the scientific aspect of this and the spiritual and the historical parts of it. And this type of guided meditation that I'm going to be creating here is unparalleled on the internet as far as at least European spirituality goes. So I'm really proud of the stuff I'm going to be creating and helping people on their spiritual journey. So I released a full video. Link will be below, and a full study, by the way, and link to some of those researches is in a Patreon video that I did. I made that video free just yesterday, so that's open to the public. That's the only non-private one I have there, so you can all check it out. It's so important. I hope you all do, and I hope you all go check out my other channel with the guided meditations too, so links will all be below to that. But on to the Norse sources about meditation. As always, there's going to be some idiots and racists who have not studied any other cultures in the world besides the European ones, and they're going to say, oh, the Vikings didn't meditate, that's an Eastern import. So before anyone says that, I want you all to define the word meditation. What do you think meditation is? Write down below in the comments. And those people can go back to their mom's basements and do a little research, and then they can come back and see how stupid they've been, because nobody in the academic community can actually agree on the definition of meditation and what it entails. As a matter of fact, in the West, to meditate, the word that we say in English, to meditate, just meant to think about something or ponder something until, like, really as recently as 100 years ago. Then the word took on its meaning like from the East, taking on the conception of Eastern meditation in Hinduism and Buddhism, dhyana, and the most common understanding of that is sitting cross-legged and oming like you've all seen like that. But it goes back in Europe too, this type of practice. They didn't call it meditation. We have, for example, the Roman and Greek ancient pagan concepts of contemplatio or theoria. But the Norse also had an understanding of this too, as you're going to see in this video. So let me know down below in the comments, how do you guys define meditation? And I will go over the parallels that we find in many of the Norse sources. So first of all, we can look at the archaeology. This like puts a stamp on the matter, like confirmed. Did the Norse in the Viking Age have at least an understanding of what meditation is as far as the Eastern understanding of it? 4 words: the Buddha bucket, and the Ringlinge statuette. Archaeological finds from the Viking Age. The bucket was found in the Oseberg ship in Tønsberg in Norway, depicting Buddha in the meditative stance. And the Ringlinge statuette found in Sweden, which is believed to be the god Freyr in the exact same posture common in Eastern meditation. If you want to, some people even include the Gundestrup cauldron in there as well. So we can say at the very, very least, some people in Scandinavia during the Viking Age had contact with Asia, close enough that they had an understanding of Eastern meditation, at least to some degree. So that's final. They at least we can say in the Viking Age they had some understanding of meditation the traditional Eastern way. But we had our own native Norse understanding of meditation too. The most similar one would be Utiseta. Most of you have heard of this already. I won't spend too much time on it. I've done plenty of other videos on Utiseta. But essentially what it is sitting out. That's exactly what it means, translated. Or one would go out at night, sit at a burial mound, which was most commonly done in order to wake the dead, but it was also done sitting out at crossroads in the night. So you sit out all night, and usually the result, what they were trying to achieve in their state, was some sort of wisdom acquired or divination and to see the future, that kind of thing. Utiseta was made illegal when Christianity came into Scandinavia, but it was still done all the way up until the 1800s. So that picture perfect. We can end it right there. Sitting out at night, that's as close to a parallel to meditation as we're going to find in the Norse sources, and there are lots of sources on that. But there are some more. There are some clear depictions of what seems to be meditation, not sitting, but laying down. In addition to Utiseta, we have quite a few mentions of some sort of laying down to reach a meditative state or trance state for some sort of purpose. As you see here in Heimskringla, Odin was said to be able to skip the hönum, to change his shape, and his body would lay down as if it was asleep or dead, while he was a bird, animal, fish, or snake, and he traveled to distant lands and all that. So that's a clear depiction of meditation for me. Some also consider the myth of Odin hanging on the tree for 9 nights, as told in Havamal, to reflect a real ritual to get to a meditative state. Another one comes in the Saga Kraka, the story of the battle where Bödvar sits in a hall. He was not participating in the battle. He was sleeping in the hall apparently, but a huge bear appears on the battle. But Bjarki's comrade Hjalti does not understand that the bear and Bjarki are the same being. And he thinks that Bjarki is just being a coward and lazy and falling asleep in the hall instead of fighting outside with everybody. And he wakes him up, and as a result, the bear immediately disappears and the battle is lost. So there we have another example of kind of shape-shifting, a man laying down in a meditative, sleep or dead-like state, and being able to control the body of a bear. Those are two that clearly reflect a laying down meditative state like that. Shape-shifting, Hameramber, skip the hönum, that's what it was called in Old Norse. There are many more examples of that in other sagas, and even much later on folk tales about specifically Finns being very good at this, where they lay down as if asleep or dead, and they would be able to send their hugid, an aspect of their soul, out of their body and to take the shape of an animal. One really cool example also comes in Historia Norvegia. Here, a meeting of Christian traders visiting the local pagan Finns. The hostess falls on the ground unconscious, seemingly dead. The locals are not surprised about that, and they call for a magician to help. And the magician works himself up into an ecstatic frenzy, and he also falls to the ground, seemingly dead. It is until a third man comes up, a third kind of magician, and this time he works himself up into this state and goes into a sleep, and then he was able to wake up the individuals unharmed. So clearly there, it's an account of 3 Finns getting into an ecstatic state, passing out in a trance or a meditation, lying still on the ground as if dead, seemingly going into an altered state of consciousness or sending their soul into some other realm, and then the other magic fin goes into that realm to bring them back. So a very clear example there. So those are just a few, guys. There are a lot more, but I want to bring into attention, in my opinion, meditation does not just refer solely to a practice of sitting or laying still to get to altered states of consciousness. You can get to altered states of consciousness by moving as well. It's much harder to do, but it's entirely possible to meditate or get into a trance state while you're up and moving. Ask any runners know this. They know the runner's high or a lifter's high, or if you're rowing or fighting or jump roping, whatever, something like that. This is absolutely meditation, in my opinion. In the Viking Age, like all other places in the world, they believed that you could get into a trance state while you were moving too. The berserker state is a perfect example of this. There are dozens of attestations, and maybe not dozens, but definitely close to 10 or more. There are many attestations of Vikings working themselves up into this berserker state, this trance, getting in a wild frenzy. Egil's saga has a couple mentions of this state. That's my favorite saga, by the way. Another one comes in Heimskringla, and here about the berserker rage, berserkerganger. Another one, a very cool one, comes in Gesta Danorum, and that's a clear attestation of a man being totally fine and normal and sober and working himself up into this frenzied trance in the Hall of the King. So these trance states were mainly for berserkers, but they weren't just for berserkers. Seidr, mentioned many times in the sagas, is generally interpreted as the practitioner of that, usually a woman, but it could be a man too. They work themselves up into some sort of shamanic trance. Perhaps a dance was involved, or even some sexual activity. The clues are definitely a bit more subtle in the attestations about Seidr, but you can see the video I did here about all the sources we have on that. A final really cool one about this ecstatic trance comes in Ibn Fadlan's work, which is accounting the funeral of a Rus Viking chieftain in the east of Europe. His slave, a young woman, was given intoxicating drinks, and she also worked herself up into a frenzy and sung and danced before they set her on the funeral pyre in order to accompany her lord to the afterlife. So guys, that's all meditation to me. You guys can let me know what you think. I think that is definitely meditation too. You don't have to be sitting down or laying down to get to a meditative state. You do have to go to the same process though of turning your mind off, turning your thoughts off in order to perceive and achieve things that you regularly would not do in this normal everyday consciousness. Final topic, I wanted to include this one because I have some friends that would be disappointed if I didn't mention this, Rune Yoga, or otherwise known as Rune Gymnastic. So this is for sure a type of meditation, focusing on these states, these meditative states, while forming our bodies into the positions of the runic symbols. Of course, this was founded by a German, Friedrich Marby, in the early 1900s, okay? And it has been practiced all the way up until today by a lot of modern Norse and Germanic pagans as a form of meditation, these runic poses, but it's a modern thing. But as my friend Dr. Scott Shell mentioned on the podcast we did a little over a year ago together, a couple of these rune yoga positions are very convincingly depicted on the Gallehus horns, which is an archaeological find going back to the 5th century, and I think there are plenty of other archaeological finds depicting this loosely as well. So I believe that humans did in fact do this rune yoga and do meditative states in these poses of runes in order to achieve that consciousness, and many others believe that as well, and we've had some pretty powerful experiences trying this type of meditation out, so it is not to be sneezed at. So but that's all for today. Hope you enjoyed. Like I said, check out the Patreon video with the links and science as how to sounds can affect meditative states, and also check out my second channel about with the guided meditations. But that's all for today. Vi ses nästa gång.